The three types of Virati. There are three types of Virati. I. Sampada Virati. This is abstaining from evil as occasion arises, considering one's birth, age, education, and so forth. E. Samadana Virati. This is abstaining from evil in accordance with one's observances. E. Samyuketa Virati. This is the abstinence of an Aryan disciple, a noble person who has gained enlightenment. It is the abstinence of one who has eradicated the roots of evil. In the case of the first two types of Virati, violation of one's good principles is possible. However, it is not possible for an Aryan, as one with the third type of Virati has at minimum destroyed wrong view and doubt. I would like to offer an example of Sampada Virati. The books tell the story of a woman who was seriously ill. She had two sons. The woman's physician told the sons that in order for their mother to be cured of her illness, she needed to be given a special diet. This essential diet consisted of rabbit flesh. The older of the two brothers told the younger brother to find a rabbit, so he went to the jungle and set a trap. As he hid nearby, it wasn't long before a rabbit was caught. As the rabbit screamed in terror, the younger brother rushed to the trap to get the rabbit. When he saw the rabbit trying desperately to escape, quivering and afraid to die, a thought arose to the younger brother. It is not fair to take the life of this rabbit in order to save my mother. Every being is afraid to die. As he felt this compassion for the rabbit, and guilt about his own intentions to trap and kill it, he set it free. It then occurred to the younger brother that his older brother will probably hate him, yell at him, and perhaps punish him for releasing the rabbit. He reflected that although his older brother may not agree with his decision, he would accept the consequences. He then returned home. When he arrived home, his older brother asked him whether he'd managed to trap a rabbit. When he related the story of what happened, his older brother said, "Sadhu. Sadhu. Sadhu." This means, well done. He praised his younger brother for thinking and behaving appropriately. The two brothers decided to go see their mother. In reflecting on Sakka, the truth of the matter, the younger brother decided to make a wish. He said to his mother, "I caught a rabbit today to save your life, but I didn't want to kill it, so I instead released it. But I love you so much. I am telling you truthfully what happened. May your sickness go away." After speaking this truth from his heart, his mother's health soon began to improve. In this example, the younger brother didn't take any precepts against killing, but he chose not to kill as the occasion arose, in accordance with his birth and life circumstances. He knew that it was bad to kill. So, this is Sampada Virati. Without observing precepts, he considered the value of another being's life. He decided to spare the rabbit. What about in your own life? Maybe you go somewhere, see a snake, and think, that's a dangerous snake that could kill someone. Maybe I should kill it before it harms someone. But then you might think, it's not good to kill. I should just let it go. This is another example of Sampada Virati, where you're not abstaining from evil because of your precepts. Let's give an example of Samadana Virati, which is abstinence from evil in accordance with one's observances. In other words, you have taken 5, or perhaps 8, precepts and don't do any evil because you don't want to break your precepts. The word samadana refers to observances. In the time of the Buddha, there was a man who took the precepts from an elder monk living in a forest monastery. That same evening, the man was returning home when he realized that one of his cows was missing. He tried hard to find it, but in the fading light of the day, he was unsuccessful. The man decided to walk to the top of the nearby mountain to continue his search for the cow. He reached the top as it became dark. As he sat there contemplating what to do next, a snake approached and coiled itself around his body. As the snake began to tighten around the man, he thought, "What should I do? I need to get away from this snake." He took out a knife he was carrying and prepared to cut off the snake's head. But then he thought about the precepts he'd taken earlier that day. He knew it would be a violation of his precepts to kill the snake, so he put his knife away. The man waited for another 10 minutes, but the snake continued to tighten itself around his body. The man thought, "I'm going to die. I have to kill this snake." He took out his knife again and prepared to kill the snake. But then he thought again about his precepts. He knew that killing the snake would violate them, so he put his knife away again. It was now completely dark and the snake was very tightly coiled around the man's body. It occurred to the man that he needed to kill the snake in order to save his own life. He again pulled out his knife and prepared to do the deed. But then he thought, if I didn't have this knife, how would I save my life? I'm not supposed to break my precepts. If the snake wants to kill me, that's okay, I don't want to break my precepts. The man then threw his knife far away. As the knife fell harmlessly to the ground, the snake released him then slithered away. This is a true story of Samadana Virati. The power of the man's loving kindness and morality caused the snake to release him and go away. The last type of Virati, of course, is Samyuketa Virati. This is the abstinence of an Aryan disciple who has completely eradicated all the roots of evil. He will never do any evil, ever. Even if someone says, "Kill this animal, or else I will kill you," he won't do it. He won't break any precepts. Even if someone says, "Drink this alcohol, or else I will kill you," he won't do it. Now, we go to Apamanya, the illimitables. Illimitables. Apamanya means limitless or illimitable. Why do we call these two mental factors that? Because the object of their virtue is infinity of being. 1. Karuna, compassion. Karuna embraces sorrows and afflicted beings. Compassion makes the hearts of the good pure. When others are afflicted with sorrow, the wish for the removal of their suffering is the chief characteristic of Karuna. We should understand Karuna, otherwise we may do something horrible while thinking it is compassionate. What do I mean? Let's say a loved one of yours is in the hospital and the doctor says there's no chance of survival. Your loved one is suffering tremendously and you want it to end. You wonder what can be done to make them comfortable. So perhaps you suggest euthanasia as an option. That way, your loved one can die peacefully in their sleep. Out of great grief and pity for your loved one, you consider this option. This is not karuna, it is unwholesome consciousness, dosa mula sata. See, if you don't understand that, you might decide that euthanasia is a good idea. Recently, someone came to me with a question about their sick cat. The veterinarian had suggested that the cat be euthanized. We shouldn't do that. Perhaps you have pity for your cat and just want to remove its suffering. But that's not karuna, it is domanassa, dosa mula sata. It is unwholesome consciousness rooted in ill will. Be careful about this. Someone might come to you one day asking for advice with a similar situation. If you suggest that it is best to euthanize the cat, you are creating your own bad karma. Be careful, karuna and dosa are quite different. The direct enemy of karuna is wickedness. Its indirect enemy is grief, or domanassa. We have to be careful of these enemies. We can usually see the direct enemy clearly, but the indirect enemy is close to us and very dangerous. 2. Mudita, appreciative joy. Mudita is also called sympathetic joy. Its characteristic is happiness about the prosperity of others. If someone else is prosperous and happy, you too are happy. You feel no jealousy at all. Most people feel jealous when someone is better off than them. This is dosa, domanassa. The direct enemy of mudita is jealousy. Its indirect enemy is exultation. So, really, we have 4 illimitables. The other 2 are metta and upekkha, which we've already talked about. Metta is presented as a dosa, non-aversion, non-hatred, or non-ill will. And upekkha is presented as tatramajatata, neutrality of mind. We have to develop these 4 illimitables every day. They are among the 40 themes of meditation, which we'll be discussing in detail later. Metta is not carnal love, right? It's not affection either. Its direct enemy is hatred or ill will, and its indirect enemy is affection or carnal love. We have to know the direct and indirect enemies of these illimitables. You may love your husband or wife, and sometimes it really is metta, but sometimes it's just affection. Affection is carnal love, it is different from metta. On the other hand, perhaps the love you have for your teacher is metta. We should be able to differentiate between the two and know what metta actually is. There's no equivalent term in English for metta, so it's best to stick with that word. Otherwise, you might misunderstand the meaning. Sometimes you say you love your child. Maybe it really is goodwill, metta, or it might just be affection. It depends on your thoughts. Metta is the sincere wish for the good and welfare of all. It embraces all beings without exception. With it, all beings are regarded on the same level. This is real metta, and that's why it's called an illimitable. What about upekkha? Upekkha is to view impartially, neither with attachment nor with aversion. Its direct enemy is passion. Unintelligent indifference is its indirect enemy. If we're unconcerned, I don't care, it's not upekkha. Upekkha should be accompanied by understanding. Last, we have amoha, non-delusion. Non-delusion 1, panya, wisdom. Here, amoha, panya, via, non-delusion, and wisdom all mean the same thing. In this context, we're talking about panyendriya, or the wisdom faculty. The characteristic of panya or panyendriya is understanding as it really is. In other words, seeing things as they really are. What is reality? Impermanence, sorrow, and selflessness. When we see these true characteristics, we call it wisdom. Panya is wisdom and Indriya is faculty, so we have Panindriya, the wisdom faculty. Why do we call it a faculty? First, let's look more closely at the words. Panya is comprised of pa, meaning, rightly, and nya, meaning, to know. Put together, the word means, right knowing. As Panya dominates in understanding the nature of reality and as it overcomes ignorance, we call it Indriya, a controlling faculty.